opportunity to be successful in the organizations that they work in. And we've done this through a number of different initiatives. Our most striking, I would say, is our Leadership Academy, which we now do in a number of locations, including in Tokyo, London, India, and here in the United States. This particular program is one where we engage up-and-coming leaders, provide them with very specific types of training so that they can become more effective at delivering the services that they provide in those communities. This particular program was created, as I mentioned, in 2005, and at this point we have over 800 individuals around the world have gone through this program and have received this training. This is one of many efforts that we're involved in. This is a program that provides, as I mentioned, very specific training, executive coaching, assessments and self-assessments with the individuals who participate. But again, it's just one of the efforts that we're involved with. We also support a number of other programs around this country, but are also around the world that provide this type of training. The thought here is that we understand the importance of developing the talent of the NGO community. I think everyone on this panel would attest to the fact that the NGO communities around the world, in various countries, either developed or those that are developing, are critical. The social sector in many of your countries is getting stronger. The individuals who are working in them are dedicated and passionate about the work that they do. And I think it's our responsibility as a company that's responsible to actually provide the support and the training so that these individuals can do a better job at what they're doing. And so through our philanthropy, through our CSR efforts, we're actually trying to make a difference by providing this. And so I'm going to end there and hope that there's opportunities for questions that we can answer them. But I just want to stay brief as instructed.
Can you tell us what CSR means?
Corporate social responsibility. That is essentially what a company is supposed to be doing to be responsible in the community and responsible with its employees as well as its environmental in programs.
And you know, Mr. Brown mentions this. CSR is something that many Americans are quite familiar with. We anticipate and expect this from our greatest corporations and our largest corporations, certainly like American Express. But this is an emerging idea throughout the world that corporations need to have social responsibility to be a good partner within the community they live in. So think about that term CSR, and if you haven't heard it before, definitely Google it after. So thank you very much, Mr. Brown. Let me turn it over very quickly to Ambassador Hiroki for his comments.
Thank you, Patrick. Ambassador Albayati, Mr. Brown, Ms. Salem, and all participants of the UN Youth Assembly. Welcome. And thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very pleased to be here with you today to be given the opportunity to speak to youth leaders from around the world. On the road to becoming an ambassador, I was encouraged many times along the way, and I hope to inspire you a little bit today. The international part of my road to becoming an ambassador started in the small town of Cedarville, near Milwaukee, Wisconsin, here in the United States. I was an exchange student in high school, and though I had been nervous about the homestay abroad in such a huge country, I arrived, and the American host family I met was very kind. And they took me around for a tour of the town, to the post office, to the library, to the school, and most importantly, the ice cream parlor. I biked around the town myself. When I returned to the home I was staying, and asked the homestay host mother where I should put my bike back, and she told me that I should put it in the garage, naturally. But at that time I didn't speak English very well, and I took garage for garbage. Well, there's only one letter missing, you know. And in 1970s, I thought America was a rich, affluent society that once you use the bike, then you could throw it away. Well, not that rich. So I do remember there was a loud reaction of my home stepmother when she found her bike on top of the pile of garbage. Such began my career as an international youth leader. And so now it's your turn to challenge the world. First off, please take a moment to think about some questions I have for you. As tomorrow's leaders today, what exactly does being a leader mean to you? What do you have to be a leader? Inspiration, insight, compassion, vision, passion, energy, persistence. Please think about it. And what made you wish to come here and join the youth assembly? That's very important to think about your motivation again at this moment. What does it mean to achieve MDGs for all the people in the world? You have your answers, but for me, I want to take action to change the world. I believe you're here to follow the same road as we, ambassadors of countries and leaders of major global institutions, walk through each day. It is a path of active service. Before coming to New York 2 years ago, I served actively in Afghanistan as ambassador. For 2 years, it was an important time for the war-torn country to rebuild and recover. Of course, 2009, when I arrived, was a crucial time when international cooperation was dearly needed, and Japan was in a position to provide and serve the Afghani people. Japan played a vital role and still does, funding reconstruction efforts in Afghanistan. While out there, we focused very much on building schools and giving girls the chance to attend these schools. It is hard to fathom, perhaps in other countries, but there, girls had not been allowed to the basic right of education. Opening schools throughout the countryside of Afghanistan was one of my most fulfilling accomplishments in my diplomatic career. So you probably heard a good deal about these 8 goals lately of MDGs, the UN's Millennium Development Goals. But what's most important to remember about them, at least to me, is that these goals are quite universal for every society, to provide education to all children, to fight against hunger and poverty, to increase access to health care, champion women's rights. In fact, just by providing education to all children may lead to the accomplishment of all these goals. They would be empowered to create economic opportunities for themselves and their communities, which would lead to better healthcare options and more human rights. But all this calls for giving youth a voice, those who care passionately about their schools, organizations, communities, common world problems. That's you. Thank you very much.
This is really a wonderful panel. I wish we had so much more time. So let's move along very quickly then and introduce the Executive Director of the Qatar Foundation International, Ms. Margaret Salem.
Good morning. I'm honored to be on such a distinguished panel, and I wanted to follow up on Ambassador Hiroki's comments. Like you, Your Excellency, I got my feet wet in the international world when I was a little older than you, not high school, graduate school, when I went for the first time off the east coast of the United States, never having even been to the west coast of the United States, and landed in Damascus, Syria. This was a while ago. It was under a different but very similar president, a kind of president you recognize, in the early 90s, and I lived with a Syrian family. I also had many humorous incidents, though I never put a bicycle in the trash, but I'm sure I did other things that made my host family laugh. I will say, from all the things that you see about the Middle East in the news, which unfortunately has not changed since I arrived in the Middle East many years ago, you see many negative and terrible things. You think going there is dangerous and hazardous to your health. I can absolutely assure you the only affliction you will suffer visiting the Middle East is gaining weight. The food is incredible. If you are hosted, you will be fed until you drop. There's actually a word in Arabic for enough, applying to food. So I would encourage those of you who have an interest in the Middle East to go and to be strong. If we could start with the video. I'm going to show a short video, and this is going to explain visually a little of what we do, and then I'll spend a couple of minutes going into a bit more detail.
I believe that we can change the climate.
The world's climate is changing. We know this. And it is going to have an impact on MDGs. It's going to have an impact beyond 2015. It is going to impact your lives. And to stop it is going to take everything we have and the efforts of everyone in this room to do something about it. A number of you during the Q&A session with His Excellency Ambassador Al-Bayati asked questions about where you're from and what you can do to change conditions at home. And that's where it's going to start. And he's absolutely right. It means that you speak, that you have a voice, that you feel that your voice matters. What we do at QFI is help young people in middle and high school, in the Americas and in Qatar, find that voice using tools that we believe help them engage in the world. First, we help define some of the core issues, like climate change, we can't tackle them all, that are going to affect all of them. Two, we challenge them to think, to be creative, and to work together, because the world is not siloed. The world is interdependent. And if there's a haze covering China, that isn't just a haze that covers China. It covers us all. And we all care, and we all have to work together to help one another. And how do you do that? Sometimes when you're a kid, and actually none of you look like you're kids, you're young adults. It seems like the adults are always talking and arguing and bickering, and we never get anywhere. So how could you possibly do any better than us? Well, you can, and you must. And so that means stepping up, taking action on issues you care about. You may not care about the climate, and that's okay. There's a lot out there to care about. The gentleman from Eritrea has enough work cut out for him. It's all right. We'll take care of the climate. You fight for democracy at home. That matters too, because each of you can do something that will make your community a better place. And it starts with finding your voice, and then finding the tools that will help you use that voice to bring others together. That's a little bit of what we try to do in some ways that are really boring to discuss. And so if you want to find out more, you can go to our website, qfi.org, hit the programs page, and we talk all about it. But I just encourage you to remember that your opinion and what you care about matters. Find a small group of friends and work with them. Ambassador El-Bayati helped change his country. That's huge. Thank you.
Wonderful. I'm sad to say that we only have 10 minutes before we need to have our little coffee break. When 10 minutes are up, I'm going to ask the panel to leave first so that they can go out and get a cup of coffee and hopefully stay there as you all come out and maybe greet you there. Usually we have a gaggle of people up front. But let's take 3 questions at one time and try to see if we can answer all 3. So number 1, yes sir, press your button. When it goes red, speak.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Gerald from Liberia, and my question goes to Mr. Brown. You made mention of countries that you currently run your programs in. So, Africa is a place that is really growing. There are so many potential, million young people. But then the platform that they need, to expand and develop their leadership potential, it's lacking, and it's frustrating sometimes. So my question is that do you have any plans of expanding into Africa? And if yes, what are you waiting for? If yes, what are you waiting for?
Okay, great. Number 2. Second question, yes.
Hi, my name is Leah, and I'm from Canada, and I'm just directing the question at anyone. First of all, thank you so much for taking out the time to come. My question would be that the organization that I'm part of, we try to provide youth voice to different government policies and such, but we often see it being lost within the different levels of bureaucracy as they go up and try to implement those policies. So how would you suggest us track down where our voice is going and really make sure the policy is being implemented?
Thank you. A third question. Anyone in the back? Was not asked? Yes. Go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Daquan Love. I'm from America, the United States of America at Hampton University. My question is directed to the ambassador from Iraq. If you could discuss briefly some of the challenges that you had to overcome when developing the youth parliament and how you dealt with those challenges, and if other countries would like to take that as a model and follow in your footsteps, how do you think we can overcome those challenges? Thank you.
So would you like to begin?
So at this time, gentlemen from Liberia, we don't have a program specifically based in Africa. I think it's clearly a place that could use a program that's developing talent. I actually worked for another company at one time, and we did have a program in Nigeria where we developed leadership of some of the folks from the Niger Delta. So it's not that we have not worked at a company where we have had programs in Africa. At my current employer, we don't have a program, but we have recruited Africans to participate in a program that we did last year with an organization called Ashoka, which many of you may know. Ashoka develops social entrepreneurs. I think we had a few individuals from Africa who came to the United States to participate in that boot camp that we did here in the city. So while we don't have a program that's based there, we do recruit from there for some of the programs that we run. So I would love to be able to go back to Africa to have a program as such. At this time, it's not in the cards, but certainly we understand and appreciate the need for it.
So once again, for those of you who are just learning here, remember to take down notes, not only CSR, but something called Ashoka. Go and look that up, A-S-H-O-K-A, ashoka.org. You may hear others, actually, members of Ashoka actually spoke at the Youth Assembly 2 Youth Assemblies ago. So, Ambassador, would you like to take the other?
Let me tell you, when there is a change movement, anyone in the world, there is some kind of resistance to change. People usually want to continue the situation. And the big movement all over the history, prophets and messengers, they were always rejected because people say, we want to follow what our parents and grandparents were doing. We don't want to have the change. So any change in the world is resisted, unfortunately, by the majority of people. Few who will make the change will struggle to do it, but eventually, when the movement is huge, just like the water, when it's accumulates, becomes tsunami and sweep everything, the change will come. So you work hard in the beginning, and you need to insist. Two things: you need to work hard to insist on what you want to achieve, and you will achieve it. You shouldn't believe in impossible. You believe everything is possible. It could be hard, it could be difficult, you might face challenges, problems, etc., but you're going to achieve it. If you give up in 6 months, 1 year, and you go to another one, you will never achieve anything in your life. So the best message I can get to you is you say, yes, I can. Yes, we can. By working hard, by insisting on what you want to achieve, by working together, as Maggie Salem said, we have to help each other. We have to work together. As I said, a drop of water is nothing, but a tsunami, a sea, an ocean can do everything.
So then there was also a general question for the panel that any of you might like to take. How does the youth voice not get lost in translation as it moves up the ladder in bureaucracies, as sometimes happens?
I'll give it a shot. I've worked in a few bureaucracies. What I do, and I'll be very frank, what I do worry about is that youth has become the new women. You are all young, so you don't remember maybe this trend, but there was a trend to doing more women's things, focusing on women's issues, women's voices, and now it's youth. And it should be. But it doesn't mean people will listen. Sometimes it is just a thing that we adults do to make people happy and look like we care. So you have to make us care. Just because we have a program and we say that we're going to listen to you doesn't mean we actually will. We don't listen to half the adults around us. Why should we listen to you? And that's why the ambassador's point about being organized and mobilized and working together. And now it's so much more exciting than when I was young, because it was never a chance that something that you're trying to do in your country could be connected to in another country and could find a voice there and could even learn lessons from there, real time. You have so many tools at your disposal, it's almost mind-numbing. Use them, channel them, focus, and absolutely you don't give up. I worry that young people think, well, somebody's invited us, they're letting us speak, so why won't they do something? Well, that's not how the world works. You have to keep fighting. I'm a supporter of the current US president, so I have to say that I'm really proud of him. He didn't give up at all. Think of the examples. The ambassador, both ambassadors, our president, and there are many leaders in the world far from here, many people don't know, but some of you may know them, and you may find them inspirational. And I bet if you look at their history, they faced tremendous obstacles, and they didn't give up, and that's what made them successful. Think of all those people that do, that you don't know, and you don't know them because they stopped.
Yes, please.
Really sorry, I feel like I'm talking to my own children.
I think there is something also important to achieve what you want to achieve. Is to think like a leader, to act like a leader. Unfortunately, if you look at universities, schools, colleges, you see there is no such course which says leadership skills, leadership mentality. This is why sometimes we feel we lack this kind of skills in ourselves. Nobody taught me to be a leader. I became a leader naturally through difficulties, through the pain I went through. My mom was inspiring me, but she wasn't leading me. I was leading the whole family, and then I end up leading the whole tribe, and we have a tribal society. We talk about thousands and thousands of people. So you have to learn. This is why, as I said, we teach leadership skills, because it's a mentality. If you always think you should be led by others, you will never be a leader. You should think always how to lead others. You start by a team of 5. They could be family member, neighbors, schoolmates, etc., friends, and then you'll be a leader of 10, 100, and then a leader of a nation. So it's important to think like a leader, to act like a leader. Try to find a book, How to Make a Leader. I can't see any such book in the market. Thank you.
Well, I don't have the answer, but I have a question for you. What do you care most about in the world? And who do you want to help most in the world? Perhaps it's your family, your school. It can be penguins in the Antarctic. But let these passions carry you and inspire you in all the good you can do in your lifetimes. Hopefully, someday we will not even have to talk in terms of what country we are from. We will be no different from one another and simply a part of the global community, where each action, each purpose will be for the sake of everyone on the planet, and little will divide us then. This is my hope for you to achieve during your generation. Thank you.
Don't worry, I'm not lecturing you again. I would emphasize that what we're all talking about here, I believe, are global citizenship skills. At QFI, these are the skills that we're trying to inculcate in young people, because we think these are the skills that you will need to lead and go forward, and not just lead, but also collaborate on a team. A lot of times, I think leadership programs forget that part of leading is listening. It's a big part of leading, is saying nothing and letting others speak and hearing them. And I know that you have to do that leading a tribe, and you will have to do that each in your own way to be a truly effective leader. And if you go to our website, as I encouraged you to do before, you will see a global citizenship section. And we talk about some of those core skills. And they include, and this is one of the reasons I'm so happy to be here, Patrick, exactly what you're doing here today in an international youth assembly, crossing geographic and cultural boundaries. It's the first step. You're on your way.
Wonderful. I am really so honored to be here with our guests, but the time has ended, and I'm sorry that we have to say goodbye to them. Let's give them a wonderful warm round of applause. Thank you all. Thank you very, very much for coming in so quickly. May I ask you on the panel to now go